What's up guys, how you doing? My name's TB and today's gonna be another I'm You video. Except for this one's gonna be a little different than the ones that I've done in the past. This one's gonna be a little bit hard for me to do only because I never really talked about it with anyone before. Only a couple people in my life even know that this is something I've ever dealt with before. But like really laying it all out there and talking about everything that I've ever experienced it and like putting it into context and thinking about it and like writing notes and stuff like that, because in case you guys didn't know, I don't script my videos. Whenever I talk about anything, it's just pretty much off the top of my head. Sometimes I write bullet points and stuff like that, but for the most part none of this is ever scripted. And usually in my IMU videos I try to give some sort of like advice, I guess. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just how I feel about something and what I think about it. But I try to give some sort of advice. For this, I feel like I can't really be giving any advice because this is something that I still struggle with even today. But there was a time in my life where it was way worse than it is now. So I feel like at this point in my life I can actually talk about it instead of it just being something that I deal with on my own. And if you saw the thumbnail, then you know that I'm talking about depression today. Depression is a really big deal, and nowadays some people try to glorify it, which confuses me. I don't really understand why. It's like, yeah, take mental health days, and yeah, we know we should help each other. It's like, yeah, all that is true, but like, don't be talking about depression like it's some amazing thing that like you should be glad to have, and like it's so easy to defeat. And just like, I don't know. I just sometimes when people talk about depression and they haven't actually gone through it themselves, it's really hard to listen to them because I just feel like they're just giving out things, like they're just saying things and giving advice, and it's not actually really helpful. So anyway, let me not get into that. It's basically just me telling you guys my story. For me personally, it started when I was in the 4th grade. The way my grade school worked was 1st grade to 3rd grade, you're on one side of the school, and 4th and 5th grade, because it goes up to 5th grade, in America, 1st to 5th, I believe, is grade school, and then 6th to 8th grade is middle school, and 9th to 12th is high school. Some people just go 1st to 12th. That's crazy. But anyway, I had just switched, from one side of school to the other side, and it was a little bit, of a weird time for me. If anyone knows me now, like I'm pretty introverted. I'm quiet. I stick to myself unless you get me talking about the things that I actually care about. Then I actually, won't shut up. But when I was a kid, I was super energetic. I don't know if I was an extrovert, but I definitely wasn't as quiet as I am now. Was totally the class clown, wanted to make everyone laugh, that sort of a thing. And as I grew older, I kind of lost that because of the circumstances I was in, depression. But it first started when I was in the 4th grade. I wasn't really feeling too good. I forget exactly why I wasn't feeling good, but it wasn't like I had a stomach ache or a headache or anything. I had to ask the teacher to go to the bathroom, right? No one else was in the bathroom. It was me. I was the only one there. I went to a stall and I sat down, and I just felt like this overwhelming amount of like sadness and frustration. And this is the first time I ever had felt this before. And something just told me in my mind, nobody likes you, you don't have any friends, you're stupid, and it would be better off for everyone if you just disappeared. Now, in this moment in my life, I was probably like 9, 10 years old. I forget how old you are when you're in the 4th grade, but I had no idea of the concept of like suicide or harming yourself or anything like that. Luckily, because that would just be horrible for a kid that young to have like thoughts of stuff like that. It came later, don't get me wrong, it came later. But at this point in time, I felt like it was something that was really bothering me, but I had no idea how to handle, and that who in the world knows how to handle thoughts and emotions that are this strong at that age. So for a while, it was just something that I kind of brushed off or did my best to brush off. It came and it went. It wasn't there all the time. It was only there like on certain days, but it was manageable. It was manageable. But that's when thinking back now, hindsight, just 2020. That's the first time that I remember that ever showing up. So this continued on a smaller scale, of course, in throughout middle school, and it got even worse in high school. But basically, what I did in high school was I became way more introverted, way more reclusive. You know, I stuck to myself because when you go from grade school to middle school, you lose a lot of friends because some people live in different parts of the city, you know, different parts of your state. They go to different high schools. Not everyone goes to the same middle school, high school, and grade school. It depends on where you live. So I lost a lot of friends. And I wasn't really the type of kid who was really energetic anymore and trying to make everyone laugh anymore because, you know, I had these intrusive thoughts in my mind that were telling me things that weren't necessarily true. Like, I was dumb and I didn't have any friends and that no one likes me. These things that, you know, really can put a downer on like how you live your life in day by day. If you keep on hearing this, you know, you tend to believe it. And that's something else I'm gonna make a video on later down the line, intrusive thoughts. But just know that on top of depression, I've struggled with intrusive thoughts and still do. Actually, you can catch me fighting it sometimes if you really pay attention. This is something I never told anybody else either. Sometimes, if you look at me carefully, depending on what I'm doing, maybe I'm talking to you, maybe exercising, maybe I'm doing something, you'll see my mouth move, but words won't actually be coming out because internally I'm fighting against the thoughts in my head that are telling me, you know, these negative things. I'm saying, no, I'm not that. No, I'm better than this. Stuff like that. That's something that I developed over time to help me fight my own intrusive thoughts, but that's what works for me. I don't know what works for anyone else. Anyway, during middle school, it got a little bit worse. You know, it was something that I never really told anybody else about. I was just struggling with it on my own. Didn't have a lot of friends because moving from a new school kind of gets rid of some of them just by default because they move away or whatever. The thing that helped me the most in middle school was playing MMORPGs. Actually, this was a time where it was very awkward for me because I was so used to being a certain way, right? Being that kid. It was my, you know, I felt like my personality or who I was kind of established at that point, but it really wasn't. You know, when you're a little kid, you're still growing in almost every area of your life. So I just started to throw myself at things that I thought were really interesting, whether it was music, you know, video games, karate, because I did karate. Karate actually helped me a lot. That's why I think part of the reason why it got worse for me in high school, because I did karate all throughout middle school up until about sophomore year of high school, and just, you know, physically, you know, exerting energy and fighting and just doing everything that involves in karate, like martial arts and physical stuff. It helped me to focus my mind on something that I really liked and that I thought was important. So that helped me out a lot too. But for the most part, I had very little friends. The ones that I did liked the stuff that I liked, so I always felt like, you know, I was accepted and it was okay for me to, you know, like have friends. It was okay for me to, you know, share bits and part of myself with people who I actually trusted. But once again, moving from middle school to high school, that kind of all went away, especially now this time because middle school has way more kids than a high school stuff than a high school. Wait, what? High school has way more kids in it than middle school does. So the opportunity for you to make more friends is bigger, but also the amount of friends that you keep going from school to school is even less as well because there's more opportunity for them to spread out. So the thing that I really struggled with in high school were my junior and my senior years. To be honest with you, completely honest, I barely remember my junior year and my senior year of high school because what I would do was basically I would wake up, I would eat breakfast, I would go to school, I would come home, and I would go to sleep. My depression was that bad. I just felt like the only way for me to deal with it, or rather to just ignore it and not deal with it, because I wasn't actually dealing with the problem, you know, was just to sleep. Because when I was asleep, I didn't have to deal with anything. I could just rest, and that's it. As a result of like only eating once a day, probably just breakfast, going to school, coming home, and just sleeping, not even doing homework, not socializing, not doing anything, I lost a lot of weight. I was actually the skinniest I ever was in high school, which is funny because I still worked out and I did stuff like that, at least before. In middle school, I was really all about that. But people didn't notice. Actually, it was a weird thing. When I was in my my high school years, the fad was to wear like baggy clothes, like baggy shirts, baggy jeans, baggy everything. So everyone was looking all baggy anyway. That's pretty much how I dealt with my depression in high school towards the end. Freshman year and sophomore year, it wasn't that bad, but it was really hard for me to adjust to being in this new school that's so freaking huge. My high school was huge. It had like thousands of of kids in it. Honestly, looking back, it kind of felt like a college campus, actually. Obviously not as big, but you know. And yeah, the reason why I wanted to just kind of share my story so far, because I'm not done. Share my story as opposed to give advice, is because I am still struggling with this. It's kind of hard to give advice on something that you feel like you haven't really conquered. But basically, I don't know. I feel like my mind is going blank now. Basically, the worst time for me dealing with my depression and my intrusive thoughts were in my junior years and my senior years, and it got worse around the time where I felt like I was developing a little bit more of responsibility, I guess. I was able to do more things on my own, depend on my parents less. I remember the first time I got my first car. It was towards the end of senior year. When I would drive my friends home or when I would go places, I would have thoughts like, well, you know what? If I just drove on the other side, of the street right now, then, that would end my life because I would get in a car accident, or I would have times where I would wake up from sleeping pretty much all day in the middle of the night and be like, I could cut myself and do stuff like that. But I was afraid to do stuff like that. Luckily, I never like actually hurt myself by cutting or anything like that. I know some people who that's how they deal with their depression, but I don't know. Even though I did have like suicidal thoughts and like thoughts of self-harm, I never actually did any of those things, and I couldn't tell you why. I just decided that that's not the way that I wanted to deal with my problems, or like I said before, ignore them. 2009, the summer of 2009, right after I graduated high school, my parents really were encouraging me to go straight to college. And that's another thing about my parents. I believe I told my father once that this is something that I was struggling with and I wanted to see like help for it, but he didn't, for lack of a better word, like he didn't believe me. He kind of just said, you're going through, what every high school graduate goes through. You don't really know what you're doing and who you are yet, but you're gonna figure that out once you go to college. That's kind of why he wanted me to go to college. Never really talked to my mom about it. Never really talked to my brothers or my sisters about it. Just a couple friends, excuse me, here and there. I would mention it to them. And basically, for me, depression was, this is how it felt for me. It felt like there was another me inside of me that was incredibly pessimistic, incredibly negative, was always telling me that I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do, even though I liked doing them. And when I forced myself to do them, it was kind of like me fighting back, saying that to depression. Basically, if depression was a person, like, you can't force me to live the way that you want to. I'm going to live the way that I want to. And that kind of goes into my first victory, I guess, against depression. It was in the summer of 2009. I was about to go to college, and I just said, I've been dealing with this for years, and it's about time that I actually take control of my life, because I've been going through this for so long, and I talked to certain people about it, and it's like no one's gonna help me except for me, right? Like, if I want my life to be better, I need to, do it myself. Basically, I need to take charge, take action, and do whatever it is that I want to do to make my life better, as long as it's not hurting anyone else. That was the first thought that I had. Like, hey, even if I do have depression, even if I do have intrusive thoughts, even if I do have all these other things, like, what's it called? Low self-esteem, stuff like that. that doesn't mean that like I can't do my best every single day to, be happy, basically. And the things that helped me the most, back when I didn't really know how to deal with it, was sleeping, like I mentioned, playing video games, and listening to music. To be honest with you, without music, music was a great help. There was times where I straight up like couldn't get to sleep because I just like slept too much. My body wasn't tired, so I would just listen to music, just stay in my room, sit on my bed, and just listen to music. There were so many good artists out there that like I found out that would help me to just deal with with my bullcrap, you know. And that's pretty much it. I wasn't really sure exactly what I was trying to accomplish with this video besides just telling my story and letting people know that like if you deal with this, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who deal with depression in different ways, not just depression, intrusive thoughts, bipolar disorder, all sorts of types of mental, diseases and like uh, disabilities and stuff like that. I guess if I would give any advice, for me, what helped a lot was talking about it. Once I found out that I actually was in an environment where I could talk about it, then things were a little bit better. Ironically, I kept it a secret for so long, so talking about it actually really helped me. So I guess if you need professional help or you feel like you can get professional help, then of course do that. Or if you feel like taking medicine is something that could help you, then of course do that. But don't ever feel like you're alone in this. There's plenty of people who deal with it every single day, and you would never know unless you ask. There's some people who don't know, who might know after this video that this is something that I struggled with, and they would never even know. And because of it, then I feel like I'm a different person. I don't know if I would ever go back in time and take, what my struggles away, like go back and like make it so like if I had a choice, I never had to struggle with depression, because it kind of made me the person that I am today. I feel like I'm stronger for it. But there definitely were some times in my life where I was just like, I have no idea why I have this. It doesn't make any sense. How come no one else is struggling with something like this? And even if they were, like, I don't see it. And that's basically it. That's basically all I wanted to talk about. I won't be editing this video very much. I just wanted, to get it raw. My reaction and how I feel and what I'm thinking and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. The next I'm You will be coming pretty soon, but this one's basically more about me and stuff that I've dealt with and stuff like that. So I hope that this helped somebody somehow, somewhere. And if not, well, at least my thoughts are on it. At least now you guys know. So I'll see you in the next one, and have a good day. Bye.